Under the cover of a moonless, starless night, a barely visible 220-foot silhouette silently emerged from its sanctuary inside the massive concrete submarine pens at Lorient, France. It belonged to U-202, a Type 7C German U-boat, with a singular mission: to land 4 nasty spies on the east coast of the United States, with the intention of using acts of sabotage and terror to diminish America's industrial capabilities. Hi, I'm Bob White, and I'd like to talk to you about my new book titled Repurposing the Past. From the excerpt I just read, you're probably thinking you walked into the middle of a Tom Clancy novel. That submarine is just one of the numerous unexpected plot twists and turns you'd never expect from a book that's really about environmental remediation, urban redevelopment, and economic growth. In 1993, I was appointed to the position of Executive Director of the Redevelopment Authority of the County of Bucks. Over a 24-year period, we helped transform a county stagnated and littered with abandoned toxic factories, warehouses, and manufacturing sites into a modern, business-friendly community filled with beautiful parks, upscale residential housing, popular tourist destinations, state-of-the-art office complexes, and a thriving deepwater port. But my story had a more humble beginning. It began on my grandfather's farm in Upper Makefield, a township in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. From the age of 5 until 18, my life was all about baling hay, fixing fences, milking cows, and taking care of the livestock. That all ended when a Marine recruiter showed up at my high school in my senior year. I had enough of farm work, so I jumped at the opportunity. During my 5 years of service, I had tours in the Mediterranean and the Caribbean seas, and even wound up in Guantanamo Bay during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Several years later, I had the opportunity to stand on guard duty at Camp David whenever President Kennedy came there on weekends. Tragically, I also helped organize the military honors for his funeral in November of 1963 after his assassination. When my stint in the Marines was over, I returned home, changed jobs a number of times, and finally arrived in the construction business. That experience led to my eventual appointment to the Bucks County Redevelopment Authority. I'd like to show you a few before and after pictures from some of the most successful projects we accomplished during those years. Sort of like HGTV, but on an industrial scale. Going back as far as World War I, Bristol's waterfront was a major manufacturing center, from the Harriman shipyards to the Keystone Aircraft Corporation to a variety of other manufacturing businesses. The result of 8 decades of industrial usage on the waterfront was 55 acres of highly toxic environmental problems. At the time the Redevelopment Authority became involved with this site in the 1990s, Bristol's Riverfront Industrial Center was the home of Dial Soap, Purex, which manufactured bleach, and the Superior Zinc Company. It took a decade and a half to clean up all the site's environmental problems. If you look at this location today, the Purex and Superior Zinc buildings are gone. And this historically rehabbed 183 square foot Dial Soap warehouse behind me is now the centerpiece of an office complex called Island View Crossings. It's currently the corporate home of Lenox China. The remainder of the original 55 acres is occupied by this beautiful waterfront housing community called the Villas at Riverview. The value of these houses has almost doubled in the decades since they were built. This cozy park behind me was once the site of the Miller Trailer Park for almost half a century, set right in the middle of a quiet residential neighborhood in Croydon, PA. But by the late 1980s, it had become run down and was finally abandoned. The local residents couldn't wait to get rid of it. There was scrap metal and blighted abandoned trailer homes all over the grounds. It was a real eyesore that was killing the value of everyone's homes. Eventually, the site was purchased by a developer whose negotiations with the local municipal powers didn't go well. He was hemorrhaging for money and needed to unload the property to cut his losses. The redevelopment authority got involved, helped clean up the site, and oversaw its transformation into this attractive park you see behind me. Today, the locals enjoy using the park for jogging, picnics, and a variety of other recreational uses. A company named U.S. Magnet operated a 23-acre site in Yardley for several decades. Its campus was a sprawling collection of interconnected buildings, and as you'd guess, by its name, they manufactured magnets, but they also made car and truck batteries. Back in the day, industrial sites used to just dig holes and bury inconvenient materials that were byproducts of their manufacturing process. No one ever thought about environmental issues back then. Because of that practice, U.S. Magnet's buildings were littered with acid, lead, plastics, and a variety of other materials we had to get rid of. There were also dozens of large bottles of unknown chemicals and liquids in the abandoned building. It took almost a decade to remediate all of the environmental issues. Oh yeah, by the way, that Nazi submarine I mentioned in my intro, I'm sitting on top of what used to be one of its primary targets. During World War II, Pensalt manufactured cryolite, the primary ingredient used to make lightweight aluminum. No cryolite, no U.S. Air Force. That's why Adolf Hitler and the German High Command sent a submarine with a team of saboteurs across the Atlantic Ocean. They wanted to blow up the factory that used to sit right in the middle of this field. So that's what my book is about, for students and professionals in the environmental science field. There's plenty of technical information to sink your teeth into. The same goes for readers in the fields of urban redevelopment and economic growth. And then, all that material is unified through a good story. Can't beat that. My book is available through our website at www.repurposingthepast.com, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and other bookstores across America.